So I feel like I just need to come on here and give a precursor to everything that's about to go down. You know, clarify some things, speak about a couple things on my mind. Have y'all walk with me. I'm headed to Starbucks right now. It's nice and quiet outside. You know, we could think, we got clarity, all that good stuff. So I've had a lot of people ask me what it is that I'm doing, right? I can understand how it can be confusing, right? But the reason that it's confusing for most people is because most people are looking at you and me from their own perspective of their own experiences. And that's what we're going to cover today, all right? So when you hear me say, or you read something that I've sent you that says this has never been done, this is the first true, right? This is historical. That's not just jargon. Those aren't just words that I'm choosing to use. It quite literally means this has never been done, right? You know how when Jordan came, basketball was a certain game, Jordan came in that bitch, bro, it was different after Jordan, right? He did something that was never done. Messi, he did something that was never done. Wayne Gretzky did something that was never done, right? I could go down the list. I'm talking athletes because I'm an athlete, right? Michael Jackson, right? We have several different examples of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Amazon out of a bookstore, right? Everybody was shitting on him doing his little bookstore, and now look, right? So when you come and you try to understand what I'm doing from a perspective and a reference point based on things that you've already experienced, that have already been done, that have already happened, you've already disconnected. You see what I'm saying? So what I've realized is that a lot of people, especially on Instagram, and this is why I haven't been on social media in 3 years, but on these little social media platforms, y'all are so blinded. It's right in front of y'all. Talk about all this. I want this. I want to get that. I want to do this, right? But you're blinded to where that actually would come from. A lot of this stuff that we want to manifest in life, it's not going to come from the place that we think it's going to come from. A lot of that stuff, I'll say 98% of it, is usually off the radar. It comes from a person that you don't expect. It comes from a place you don't expect, right? It comes from a spark and an idea you don't expect. So if you understand this, the mindset wouldn't be one of which I've been receiving since I've been in Miami, honestly, is, 90% of the people I talk to, they think it's a joke. Respectfully, though, I get it. I definitely get it. But that's based on your own experiences, your own traumas, the people who done did you dirty, right? The people, right? But if you've gone through all of these experiences, if you had that journey, right, where you fought through adversity to get to where you're at now, when is that going to change where you're going to start expecting good things to start happening to you? Where you might just tap into the success that you all talk about, you dream of, you're building towards, right? When is that going to shift in your mind that, wow, maybe that opportunity is upon us? And I'm finding the hindrance to most people, even in a city like Miami, right, where it's very flashy. People appear to have a certain level of success, but when you talk to these people, it's like you can tell by the things that people speak about, right? The ideas that somebody is talking to you about, or the ideas that they're sharing on their social media and their little captions, right? It's like I always look at those types of things. So since I've been out here, it's like there's a lot of fabrication, right? But that's anywhere you go. This is essentially what I'm getting at in a global perspective of how we look at success as humans on Earth. It starts with most people's thinking, right? So if you think that every opportunity is too good to be true for you, and you end up getting a true opportunity, you're going to misread that opportunity that's true, because you're always going to label the opportunity as a lie. You get that? So it's your thinking. It's like you're stopping the blessing from reaching you because you're forming an opinion about the blessing before you even know what the blessing is. And in reality, it's this highlight culture that's been built, right? So social media You can put a nice picture up. You can get something edited, right? You can rent a car. You can get an Airbnb, right? You can have somebody that has this stuff and have them act like it's yours, right? You might spend 300,000 of your 350,000 that you got on a car, on a watch, just so you can feed into this highlight culture. But what I'm saying with that is it's hurting nobody but the people who are trying to put the highlights up. Because what you're doing for your life is now you're going on a trajectory that's not real. So at some point, you're going to get really, really depressed when you realize you have no skill, you have no real value, right? And you're just out here trying to be a cool person. Like, go back to high school. You had, I was an athlete, right? So our shit was a little bit different, right? But you had the little sects of people, right? They had their little cliques, right? It's like you had the cool kids, and then you had the nerds, right? And then you had the creative art kids. They was real innovative, always with this, you know what I'm saying? And then you had the athletes, okay? But when you look at like that cool kid, that's what social media is right now. It's everybody trying to be the cool kid they never were. And the more y'all sit out here and try to do this stuff to be cool, to be seen, it's you're losing the one thing you'll never get back. It's your time. You'll never get time back to build the skill, to build the mindset, to build the wealth, to build the will, to build the network, right? That's more important than anything else. Because once you build a true consistent skill set, let's take basketball, for example, right? If you could go shoot 40% from three, you are a valuable asset to any NBA team, correct? Right? So why in life don't we take that same mindset? What is your skill set? What do you do that's consistent? That you can say that I am a master at. And if you don't have anything that you've mastered in life, right? That's where your reference point could get broken. Because now you don't believe that mastery is possible. Now you don't believe the real path to success has always been mastery. It's always been the outliers. It's always been the people who have put well over 10,000 hours into the shit they talking to you about. You see what I'm saying? So then you have this highlight culture where it's like, oh, but this dude, let me clip this, man. We getting into some shit today. I'm telling y'all, this is the day. You have these people who so tied into the highlight culture that you miss Mr. Miyagi right in front of you because you looking for Karate Kid. You missing Mr. Miyagi right in front of you because you looking for Karate Kid. And then just look at the wealth. Look at all the people who own all the money in the world. Are they publicly known? Do they have an Instagram? Do they have a Facebook? Do they have a LinkedIn, bro? No. No. So why is that? How can those two things be together? How could you say I want to be wealthy, but then I also want to be famous? And I stand on a lot of Buddhist principles. My family's Japanese. We stand on a lot of that, right? And a lot of that is just you realizing it's more about the fortune over the fame. So let's get into that. And so you got to think. If Mark Zuckerberg came to you and said, I'm Mark Zuckerberg, right? You would listen to absolutely everything Mark Zuckerberg comes to say to you, right? But if he comes and he says, my name is John Doe, and he says, bro, Zuckerberg ain't fucking with me. Would you listen to John Doe the same way you just listened to Mark Zuckerberg? Probably not. And why? Let's think about that. Because you at some point you didn't know who Mark Zuckerberg was. Correct? But once Mark Zuckerberg becomes Mark Zuckerberg, now you listen to Mark Zuckerberg. But what was Mark Zuckerberg saying in his college dormitory? Was he not saying the same thing he's doing now? And the fact that shit just pissed some of y'all off is my point exactly. That is that little fire that you just felt because I call myself the next Zuckerberg, because I call myself the next Elon, because I call myself the next Bezos, that shit you feel inside you, bro. That's my point exactly. That is what keeps people from success, because I do not have that in me. I'm looking at everybody as, what can I learn? What are you doing that's mastery level? But you see, a lot of people don't have anything like that. There's nothing that you can say you've mastered. When I say mastered, that means you do it like nobody else does it. That you dare somebody to go find somebody that does it on the level that you do it. You see what that's mastery. There's not a lot of masters anymore because we don't treasure focus. We don't treasure discipline. We don't value consistency anymore. We don't value holding ourselves accountable, right? We just be out here on Instagram. So let's talk about the people who own all the money, right? It's the Jews, right? Right? Everybody hate the Jews. You know what I'm saying? Everybody hate. They be, man, these people running our lives. These people are a new world order, man. These dudes got the agenda on us, on our ass. Like, is that the truth though? Or are they just following a certain standard that they was trying to share with everybody that nobody wanted to take serious? So they decided, wow, let's do it amongst ourselves, right? And that's when we come up with the terminology, less is more, right? You only need a few. Why? Because a few is about as many as you can get to think in harmony and actually achieve some shit. That's the truth. There is no way in this life, right? Because everybody wants to be so inclusive. There's no way that the masses will ever do anything positive. Ever. It's not going to happen. And you know why it's not going to happen? Because we live in a naturally fallen world. So that means that most people are on some bullshit. You get what I'm saying? And so I feel like today, you know, if you're listening to this, it's a very good time for you to start getting out of that highlight culture mindset, because all that's centralized, right? Let's get into the crypto shit. Since nobody can understand crypto, I'm about to break down crypto right now. Okay? Crypto is about the tech. Has nothing to do with the money, right? The same way they trade in the meme coins and they doing all that. It's the exact same way that they were trading penny stocks at the beginning of the stock market. You see what I'm saying? Y'all got to get me, man. I'm trying to tell y'all something. And now I can tell y'all. Let's go on this little financial course today, and then I'm going to get in this laptop. But look, this is what it is. We have a centralized financial system. What that means is the financial system is currently reliant on centralized banking infrastructures, right? There's three main banks. You'll see this more when I start sharing some trading shit, but there's three main banks around the world: New York, Tokyo, and goddamn London, right? So you got New York, Tokyo, London. Those three bases around the world are coordinating with each other to run this market in our entire economy, right? That is that centralized financial system that we are now breaking out of. This means every single global transaction has to run through one of these three banking infrastructures, whether it be Tokyo, which is Asia, London, which is UK, and then New York, which is US, right? So when we see our money get frozen for 3 to 5 days because we're trying to do a bank transfer, right? Or we see account gets frozen because they think it's fraud, right? Or we see that Saturday comes and I can't send a certain amount of money because I can't go into the bank because the bank closes 2 days every single week where I cannot access. You see what I'm saying? So that's centralized banking system. That's a lot of fragmentation. It's a lot of friction. It's a lot of inefficiency. And when you have that in a system, it creates a lot of loss of resource. The loss of resource here is loss of money. It's too expensive for us to run a centralized financial system like this because of this fragmentation and this friction, where if you want to move $500 million, you cannot do that on Sunday. Now, where can you move $500 million on a Sunday? Right? And everybody was hating on the Trumps because they told us, they sitting over here telling you, right? But we're so caught up in all the antics and the nuance. Man, he ain't a good, right? It's like, come on, y'all got to focus with me, right? Focus with me today. Focus, please, focus. Because this shit's happening now, right? The only place you can move $500 million on a Sunday night is crypto. That is it. Now, That's one. So technology, moving money, freedom of movement, efficiency system. I can move it whenever I want to. I can send it to whoever I want to. Now, what's the second reason for crypto? And this is not theory of why we might go crypto. It's why we are going crypto. If you look at this shit, I'm telling you, you can make sense of it for yourself. You understand crypto after it's, I promise you. This is all it is. So the second reason for crypto is proof of authenticity. So say I have a car, right? I have a title and a deed to the car, right? I have a license that I use to prove my identity and proof of authenticity that I own the car, correct? Somebody in a whole nother country gets my ID and fakes my identity. They create a whole nother identity. They now go say they own the car. So anywhere I needed to go prove that I own the car, they can now go prove that shit too. Do you see what I'm saying? That can't happen in crypto. Why? Because we're not going off of a license. We're going off of the ledger on the blockchain that does not get erased. It does not get manipulated or changed. So now think about how important that would be, not only for your money to move fast and efficiently with low fees. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to pay that little, the little cash. And when you cash your shit out from Cash App, I know Venmo got it. Their fees a little bit higher than Cash App. So you sitting there wondering, like, Cash App only charging me this. Venmo, why you charging me? You see it? That's where y'all have to start thinking about this stuff. It doesn't matter when you have $10 in there, but it matters when you have 10 million. It matters when you have 100 million. It matters when it matters when you have 2 million. It matters when you have more money. Right? Now let's get to the bigger piece of why this is happening now, right? Where we're actually at in our current economic system. And see, most of y'all, I talked to y'all in person. We could have had this conversation in person, but this is what I'm saying. This is Exhibit A right here. You never know who's with you. You never know who's in front of you. You never know who you're speaking to or who you meet. That person could be calculating you way deeper than you're even able to calculate. You see what I'm saying? And those are the people who are not going to sit there and bully you. They're not going to talk down on you. They're not going to make you feel less than you are. They're not going to sit there and try to defend themselves and prove themselves to you because they're the truth. Once you're the truth, if somebody says you're a lie, do you have to sit out there and go keep telling them you're the truth? No. At a certain point, you're going to be like, bro, this nigga tripping. This motherfucker tripping, bro. I ain't even going to waste my energy trying to sit over here and prove anything to them. But look, this value right here. So look, in our financial system, right? When I talk like institutional, it's like, no, I really talk to these people. Like I'm really getting the firsthand scoop on this and having these exact same conversations, breaking the shit down exactly like this to $1 trillion entities. Understand? So now I'm giving y'all the same exact value if you're able to really, really grasp what I'm talking about. Because this is very important. I'm telling you, this is exactly what's going on. So look, we got two things in the financial centralized system right now, a centralized financial system right now. That is tax erosion and that's inflation. Okay. Both of those added up, right? I think tax erosion is probably like, or you get taxed like 30 up to 35%, something like that. I know inflation is like 7%, right? Just add them together. That's about 40% on every dollar that you basically lose in value because of tax erosion and inflation. That don't matter if you got $10. You got 10. Oh, I don't really care about that, right? But if I have $1 million, just take $1 million. That means if I have $1 million just sitting in the bank, right? In a savings account, right? All that, you're just sitting in the bank. You are losing 40% of that every single year that it sits there. So that means $1 million, you losing $400,000 a year just by it being in this bank that people are saying is so safe for you. Do you get what I'm saying? So when I have $10 million, right, I'm losing $4 million every single year that my money is sitting there. And just do the math as you increase in that number. And you'll start to see that, yeah, maybe for you it doesn't affect you. But for the people who actually have the money in this world, this is a very big issue. So where can we combat that? And this is why I got in you have to understand, I day trade. That's what I mastered. Day trading, right? I started talking to a financial, I'm not going to name the name, but it's $1 trillion financial institution, right? They want to run money through the trading algorithm that I have created, right? And that was going to be it. But as we started talking, right, they also wanted to make the best, most efficient investment, right? Because this is essentially them picking the new direction that they're going to go as $1 trillion entity for the next 50 years, right? And so as we're on these calls and we're talking, the question isn't, what will you do for me? The question is, how can you help me, AC? What do we do, AC? Give me advice, AC. How do I move 100,000 right now, AC? Do you see what I'm saying? And so as I'm talking to them, I'm having to critically think about these things, learn the highest level of finance to understand, to even be able to talk to these people, and then give them a real solution that makes sense for them to do with trillions of dollars, bro. This ain't a million. This not that, bro. This ain't that. This is trillions of dollars. Where if you fuck up, you might lose $1 billion, bro. Yo shit got to be so on point with what makes sense. And you know what makes sense makes dollars. So this is what I told them. I was like, our whole financial system right now is bursting, right? And they're they digging into 401ks, right? They're digging into traditional financial instruments. Right now, Merrill Lynch said they give you, 5 to 10% APY per year, right? Bro, people not even seeing 2%. Because they're pulling that liquidity out of these quote unquote stable financial instruments because of what? Tax erosion and inflation. Tax erosion and inflation. So how do you combat that? Crypto, stablecoin. So USDC and USDT, USD Circle and USD Tether, right, are stablecoins for the US. They have been around now basically as long as motherfucking Bitcoin. Both of these assets, because we got to look at them as assets now. It's not crypto. Crypto is not it's not like different from a stock you buy. It's not different from a fucking British pound that you have, right? It's the same thing. These are just assets. To people at the top, these are all just assets. They have values. They all have numbers. You look at trading, they all got a chart. The only thing that changes with these things is the label. You see what I'm saying? So when we look at these two assets, USDC and USDT, USDC is the main focus, right? That is essentially the stable coin of the US. USDC's value fluctuates between 99 cents and $1.03. That means if I have $1 million, right, instead of losing the 400,000 that I lose to losing the 40% on every dollar, I don't lose the 40% on every dollar because the shit stays at 99 cents to $1.03 for every dollar, which means what? You instantly put $400,000 back in your pocket if your million sits in stablecoin versus sitting in a bank account. That's it. That's it. That is the game. If you have $1 billion, you put back $400 million in your pocket if you move your money from your bank account to stablecoin. That is all that's going on here. That is it. If you think about this shit even any deeper than that, come on, man, you're playing yourself. So now we understand the difference between a centralized financial system, right, that relies on centralized things. That's everything. Our power is still centralized. Our phones are still centralized. Our internet is still centralized. Do you understand what I am saying? We have a massive opportunity because all of this shit has not changed yet. And a lot of people out there do not have solutions for what we need solutions for right now. That's what's going on. When BlackRock just froze $250 million from investors and told them, I can't give it back because you signed this shit. When you invest, it says like this is not guaranteed to come back to you. Bro, it froze like 250 million, bro. And said, yo, you can't get it back because it's past a little 250,000 FDIC insurance we gave you, right? And to sum that up, essentially it's like that 40% you're losing taxes, tax erosion, and inflation. That's essentially just the cost for them, one, housing your money, and two, transporting your money for you. You understand? So like look at power, for example. I sold solar for a good amount of time, right, at a very high level in California years ago. And that's what we would say. It's like you're only paying a high power bill because you're paying the power company to house your power, right, to hold that shit there, and then they transport it to your house every time you need it. So you're paying transportation costs and holding costs. It's the same with our banking system. All these fees we pay are just because they hold our money and they transfer it for us. That's it. So that's centralized, but to go decentralized means essentially the same thing it was to go solar, where now instead of me getting my power from the power company down the road, right, and now I have to pay them for all these extra fees to hold it and to transport it to me, now we take those fees off, and now you see, wow, I basically have no power bill. Exactly, because the power is free. Where the business model was formed around you not doing the shit for yourself. You get what I'm saying? So now it's like the same thing with our banking system. Now, instead of going to a bank, you have a crypto wallet, right? Instead of logging into your bank account with the email that can get erased or all this stuff that you put into your bank that you think is yours, but it's really on decentralized. Yeah, you don't have that. You have your keys that only you know. Do you see what I'm saying? So now last thing I'm going to say before I get into this work, tokenization. Right? Everybody seems to be so confused about tokenization like it's some rocket science or some shit. It's not. It's not. We've already seen the shit happen. We just didn't call it tokenization. We call it it's digitalization, right? So look, when every brick and mortar business needed a website or a digital presence, right? Let's just think like MySpace shit, right? Let's think online message. Now, when everybody was wanting to be location independent, we started seeing the rise of the internet. If you were one of the people that most people, I'm not saying everybody, but most people would have to go through to get an online presence, you had generational wealth and you capitalized fully on the wealth transfer that happened with that shift. We called it the internet boom. It was called the internet boom, okay? Because you created a Google or a Microsoft, right? Because you knew that at some point in time, it doesn't matter how anybody feels about it, they will need an online presence. That's not an if, that's a when. So now with all of the information that I just told, I got 69 followers on here. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying this shit to millions of people. I was never trying to be famous. It's fortune over fame. Fortune doesn't just mean money. That means luck, right? That means good health. That means abundance. That means peace of mind. That means peace of soul. But shit, it also comes with, I think, the highest level of wealth. Because you sacrifice that fame to understand real fortune. Okay? You hear that rooster? Go look up what a rooster means. So now that we understand the internet boom, let's now look at everything I just said about how we need to shift to crypto. If you go back and you listen to everything I just said and took proper notes, it should make sense to you that we need to go to crypto. This is not something that we just want to do because people want to make money. It's a technology that we need so that we can survive as a human species. So now we understand that, right? Nothing is crypto right now. So when we talk about tokenization, all it means is exactly what I just said. Your money goes from that dollar sitting in the bank account, losing 40% per year, to stablecoin. That's it. That is tokenization. That's it right there. So every asset, right? Let me clip this because y'all need to hear that. Y'all need to run that back. Run that back right there. So this includes a house, right? Somebody's most valuable asset, right? This also includes power, right? This includes cars. This includes their watches they love so much. This includes shoes. This includes jets. This includes yachts. This includes jet skis. This includes anything you can possibly think of that is an asset to a person that is supposed to be appreciating in value, that is not appreciating anymore because it's losing 40% on every dollar because it's sitting in a fiat currency in dollars, right? So the need to tokenize assets is even bigger than the want. It's not about that. It's about we need to tokenize real world assets. Our watches, our cars, our clothes, everything that we have will turn into an asset versus everything we have or wear or own being a liability.